the Hemi, 5.7 liters of raw, unbridled American muscle that Chrysler executives have been desperately trying to keep under wraps for years. What's up, gearheads? Today we're pulling back the curtain on one of Detroit's most closely guarded secrets, the legendary engine that powers the Chrysler 300C. You think you know the Hemi? Think again. What I'm about to reveal has been buried in classified documents, hidden in corporate vaults, and denied by industry insiders for decades. The truth about this engineering marvel is far more explosive than anything they've ever admitted to the public. Why did Chrysler really resurrect the Hemi for the 300C? What are they hiding about its true capabilities? And most importantly, why did they go to such extraordinary lengths to limit its potential? The answers might shock you. I've spent years piecing together this automotive conspiracy, following paper trails through forgotten archives, and speaking with whistleblowers who've risked everything to expose what's really under that imposing hood. Buckle up. This isn't just another engine breakdown, it's the automotive revelation they never wanted you to hear. The Hemi engine powering the Chrysler 300C didn't just appear overnight. No, my friends, this story begins in the shadowy corridors of Chrysler's engineering labs during the early 2000s, when American muscle was supposedly dead and buried. While Japanese and European manufacturers were busy pushing their economical, efficient engines to the masses, a small, secretive team at Chrysler was resurrecting something far more sinister. Something with roots tracing back to the legendary 426 Hemi of the 1960s. But with modern technology that would make those original engineers tremble. What most people don't know is that the 5.7-liter Hemi wasn't initially designed for the 300C at all. According to documents I've obtained from sources deep within Auburn Hills, this engine was originally conceived for a classified military application. Yes, you heard that right. The raw power and durability metrics were so impressive that government contracts were all but guaranteed. But something happened. Something that caused Chrysler to suddenly pivot and install this powerhouse into a civilian luxury sedan instead. Internal memos suggest a power struggle between government officials who wanted exclusive rights to the technology and Chrysler executives who recognized its commercial potential. The compromise? Chrysler could release the engine to the public, but only after implementing specific limitations to ensure the civilian version would never reach its true potential. The Hemi that made it into the 300C is essentially a neutered version of what those engineers originally created in their underground testing facility. Industry insiders who've spoken to me on condition of anonymity claim that the original prototype produced nearly 30% more power than what eventually reached production. Performance figures so extraordinary that they threaten to upend the entire automotive hierarchy and put certain foreign luxury brands to shame. Why was this kept quiet? What forces were at work behind the scenes? The trail of evidence leads to places darker than I ever expected to find in the automotive world. Let's talk numbers. Cold, hard facts that Chrysler's marketing department has been deliberately downplaying for years. The 5.7-liter Hemi V8 in the Chrysler 300C officially produces 340 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. Impressive figures on paper. But dyno tests conducted by independent researchers consistently show these engines putting down numbers closer to 360 horsepower at the crank, before any modifications. Why the discrepancy? My sources indicate Chrysler deliberately understated performance figures to appease insurance companies and regulatory bodies. The aluminum heads with hemispherical combustion chambers, the true secret to this engine's power, create a combustion efficiency that engineering teams from competing manufacturers have spent millions trying to replicate. The 10.3, 1 compression ratio, that's higher than what most manufacturers would dare put in a production vehicle. Multi-displacement system that deactivates 4 cylinders? A clever cover story for technology that was originally developed for something far more advanced than fuel economy. What's most telling is the engine's torque curve. Virtually flat from 2,400 revolutions per minute all the way to 5,100 revolutions per minute. No production engine should be capable of this without significant compromises. Unless, of course, it was engineered for purposes beyond civilian transportation. Why would Chrysler deliberately restrain an engine with such staggering potential? The answer lies deeper than you might imagine. According to former engineering team members who've since left the company, the original Hemi prototype for the 300C was capable of producing well over 400 horsepower in its unrestricted form. Internal documents that were never meant to see the light of day reveal that the engine was electronically limited, mechanically restricted, and deliberately tuned down before reaching production. But who applied this pressure? Follow the money trail, and you'll find a web of connections between insurance conglomerates, competing luxury brands, and even government regulatory agencies. The 300C, with its full potential Hemi, would have outperformed vehicles costing twice as much, a threat to the established automotive hierarchy that couldn't be tolerated. More disturbing still are the rumors of the unlimited Hemi, a small batch of engines that allegedly made it out of the factory without the restrictions. These unicorns are said to exist in a handful of early production 300Cs, identified only by a small, almost imperceptible marking on the engine block. Owners of these vehicles report extraordinary performance and have been visited by company representatives, offering to update their engine management systems free of charge. The most compelling evidence? The mysterious recall of certain 300C models in 2006 that wasn't publicly linked to any specific safety concern. Vehicles went in with one engine calibration and came out with another, slightly less responsive, slightly more manageable. The truth about the Hemi has been systematically suppressed for almost 2 decades, but now, the evidence is becoming too substantial to ignore. What happens when a handful of these unrestricted Hemis escape into the wild? A racing legacy shrouded in mystery and deliberately erased from official records. Between 2005 and 2008, a series of amateur drag racing events across the American Midwest reported unusual results. Stock-appearing Chrysler 300Cs consistently outperforming heavily modified competitors. These victories were quickly dismissed as anomalies or cheating, but footage from these events tells a different story. The distinctive exhaust note of these particular 300Cs had a unique signature, a deeper, more aggressive tone that factory-spec vehicles simply couldn't replicate. Perhaps most telling was the sudden appearance of Chrysler engineers at these events, closely examining these vehicles and taking extensive notes. Within months, the winning cars disappeared from the circuit entirely. A former Chrysler test driver, speaking on condition of anonymity, confirmed what many had suspected. Those weren't standard production cars. They were evaluation vehicles that had escaped the crusher. We were supposed to destroy them after testing, but a few were relocated instead. The underground racing community gave these mythical machines a name, Ghost Hemis. Their reputation grew to legendary status as they vanished one by one, either bought back by mysterious corporate representatives offering far above market value, or suddenly suffering catastrophic mechanical failures after their owners declined these generous offers. The Hemi-powered 300C could have rewritten racing history, but the powers that be ensured these chapters would remain unwritten, until now. Today, finding an unmolested original Hemi-powered Chrysler 300C has become the automotive equivalent of hunting for buried treasure. Collectors and enthusiasts are engaged in a silent war to locate these mechanical masterpieces before they disappear forever. Why this frantic search? Because knowledgeable insiders understand what Chrysler never wanted the public to know. These engines were massively overbuilt, designed to handle stresses far beyond what a luxury sedan would ever encounter. With minimal modifications, they can produce power figures that embarrass modern performance cars costing 3 times as much. The most coveted prizes are the 2005 and early 2006 production models, the ones most likely to contain the unrestricted Hemi variants. VINs and production codes have become secret currencies in underground forums where enthusiasts exchange information away from corporate monitoring. A select network of specialist mechanics has emerged who can decode these engines, removing the artificial limitations placed on them by the factory. Their services don't come cheap, and they don't advertise. You need to be vouched for even to make contact. The irony isn't lost on collectors. Chrysler created an engine so exceptional that the company itself became its greatest enemy. Every year, fewer original examples remain, as vehicles are crashed, modified, or simply worn out through neglect. The truly pristine examples are rapidly disappearing into climate-controlled garages of wealthy collectors who understand what they've found. The last honest American muscle, hidden in plain sight. What's most remarkable about the Hemi and the Chrysler 300C isn't just its storied past, but how it continues to influence automotive engineering today, often in ways deliberately obscured from public knowledge. Look closely at the engine designs emerging from Detroit over the last decade. The fingerprints of the 5.7-liter Hemi's architecture are everywhere, though manufacturers have gone to extraordinary lengths to disguise this lineage. The hemispherical combustion chamber concept has been quietly adopted and modified across multiple brands, despite public claims of all-new engine designs. Why this secrecy? Because acknowledging the Hemi's influence would mean admitting that Chrysler's engineers had perfected V8 technology years before their competitors. Industry insiders who've analyzed cutaway models confirm that several innovative engine designs from rival American manufacturers share remarkable similarities with the Hemi's valve placement, intake geometry, and exhaust flow characteristics.